Pratt Free Library, branch manager, representative at Roosevelt City Farm, and since 2000, and vegetables at Roosevelt, and turned it over to Kinshasa and Jean.
Thank you, Jean.
Hi, thanks, Ms. Kay.
Well, I'm just so happy we're able to do this. I feel like it's been a long time coming. We started this about a year ago. It was about a year ago last year. So I just I'm really excited that we're able to be outside today. And so tell me, we talked a little bit about where the garden is located. We're currently in front of the rec center. Mm-hmm. And so what's the actual address today?
Well, thanks again for visiting me and having me. The Roosevelt City Farm is located at 1221 West 36th Street. That's in Hamden, as you mentioned. It's right next to the Roosevelt Rec Center, which we're sitting in front of right now. It's also across the street from one of the public high schools in Baltimore City. It's the Academy for College and Career Exploration. And we're very close to Falls Road as well, the intersection of 36th and Falls.
Known as the Avenue in Hamden, right?
Yes.
So anybody who's been to the Avenue and had good food and drink, then they keep going a little further, that they will be here. So when were you introduced to community gardening?
I think when I was younger, I saw people's community gardens. I actually grew up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., but I moved here when I was a teenager to Baltimore City, and I really always admired urban gardens, and the concept of urban farming always fascinated me. They have a greenhouse where they grow plants. Some of them I put in my garden, but so that really drew me in, and I started on the other side of the park. As Sophia mentioned earlier, we moved from the Falls Road side, and I remember walking past and always wanting to join in the fun.
Working with you.
We have 33 gardeners. There are 32 regular plots that are on the ground, and then there's a raised bed that is ADA accessible. So that's our 33rd plot that we have.
And if somebody was interested in gardening at this community garden, what are the restrictions, or what are the things? How much does it cost? Or
well, the yearly rental charge is $35.
Okay.
And that's everything. There's an application fee, I believe, of $10 for the first time that one applies, but that's about it. There is a waiting list, though.
Okay.
I'm surprised but not surprised. During the pandemic, our waiting list exploded. There are over 30 people on it.
Wow.
Since just January of 2020 is when that list started growing. We were down to about 0 at around that point. And honestly, we don't have a lot of turnover here. Some years we'll have several gardens turnover, but then we'll have none. So it could be a while for this. I suspect some of those people might not ultimately be interested. You know, when you go through a long waiting list, they've moved on. Literally, maybe they've moved, or sometimes
community gardens where they, like you, were curious and just kind of like looking to kind of figure out, what is this? Or were people like, yeah, I'm a gardener and I want to be in, or this is their first rodeo, their first time?
All of the above.
Okay.
We definitely attract experienced gardeners, because a lot of us don't have either room in our backyard, or maybe there's not enough sun, or whatever the circumstances are, they don't have a yard, but they're experienced gardeners from the past. And then we also have complete novices who they're just interested, and it looks nice to them, and some of them do drop out after a year or so.
Okay.
Definitely see that happen, because they're just not everyone knows what to expect.
Okay.
So when we welcome people into the garden, often I'll do a little tour with new gardeners and sort of walk them around and show them the ropes, so to speak, and how we do things, but also try to let them know what they're getting into, because it is a time commitment.
Right.
Well, fortunately, there's so much knowledge, information available through all kinds of sources. We have master gardeners who are volunteers who work with the City Farms program and the Department of Horticulture in general, and so they will offer to meet with a gardener to assist in any way. Sometimes they hold workshops. We've had a couple of virtual workshops since the pandemic has happened. There are also just so many other resources. I mean, we all know that Google exists, but a lot of us forget, you know.
Yeah.
We do have one gardener currently who is not an internet user. So
Okay.
that's a challenge. In the past, we had more than one.
Okay.
So we also none of us can assume that everybody has access to that information.
We learn that every day at the library. So I understand that. I was going to ask you about, is there a story you would like to share? But the one thing that I remember the last time I was here, which I relayed this story just this morning. So you and I were talking last year about how, as a teacher, like you have students in your class and you never know the kind of impact. You talk about your garden, you talk about your gardening. Tell me about the experience of you going to the farmer's market at Druid Hill and just, yeah.
Okay. Of course. I'm so glad you asked me about that. So, yeah, I do. I'm a Spanish teacher, but I try to just, incorporate things from my personal life when I introduce myself and just fun stuff from home, pictures from my garden and flowers and things, vegetables, and talk about cooking. And so anyway, yeah, a couple of years ago, I was at the Druid Hill Farmers Market, which is Wednesday afternoons, by the way, from 3:30 to 7 p.m. And I'm right over by the Rawlings Conservatory. Love that market. It's really convenient. Anyway, so I was there and I saw this young lady working at one of the stands, and she was sort of eyeing me and her co-workers. They were beckoning me over, and I thought they were just trying to get, customers to come to their stand. Turns out that even though we were wearing masks, we eventually, both of us, recognized each other. She was a former student, one of my students who I taught when she was in 10th grade. So it was at least a couple years after she had graduated at that point, and she's still in college. But she has become involved with this beautiful, enormous, not small like this, community garden, but a big,
Yes.
very robust community garden that's called the Plantation.
Yes.
On
We're in Park Heights. Yeah.
Park Heights Avenue. And she has been a strong leader amongst the other leaders who are working there,
Yes.
and she supervises a lot of different things, and she's all excited about it. So she was very excited to tell me that she's a farmer now, and tell me a little bit about her place and everything that they do, and introduce me to her co-workers or her co-gardeners,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
But anyway, it made me so happy, and so that's why I wanted to be sure and tell you about her.
I got to meet Bria, and amazing young lady, and I feel like it's like the next generation of gardeners. This young lady is in college, I think pre-med, and like is interested in the medicinal values of gardening, and has like I went to visit her, and there was no labels on any of the plants, and she was like, and this is good for as a tea for this and that, and then I'm sitting here and she's like 19, 20 years old, and you had no idea the impact of you talking about God and your experience. So this is one of the things that I wanted to, in the series, talk about empowerment and food sovereignty, but just also knowledge, right? How the earth is, we must help the earth because the earth is helping us.
Yes.
So I feel like we've chatted enough, but I want people to be able to see the garden. So
I would love to.
let's. It's a tiny. It has like one way, so we're gonna make our way over there. Also, with the rec center here, there's also an amazing skate park that's like behind the rec center. There's a pool that's like around there as well as part of the rec center. And so just to be able to have, this is really an amazing community space, and one of the things that I love about this area and your garden is that it's at this forefront, and it's just like anybody and everybody's welcome, right? Mm-hmm. And so, so why don't we make our way over and figure out and show everybody the coolness of your garden. And you know what I loved about it is that I feel like your garden is like organized chaos. Like it's just, or beautiful chaos. I think is probably a better way to describe it. So,
I think that's pretty accurate. It's hard to control nature, I feel.
yes. So,
left, there's the skate park over there. You see the edge of it.
baseball diamond, that is like so freaking cool. Like, how cool is that, right?
Welcome to our garden. This is the Roosevelt City Farm. This is our ADA accessible raised plot that's here on the pavement. You can see we're kind of hemmed in by a lot of pavement here, so we have limited space. Some gardens have a lot of storage bins. We don't, but that's okay. We like our location just fine. Our shed has blown over a couple times in windstorms, but we still hang it in there with it with some rocks in the bottom. So as you can see, come on up, Miss Kay. As you can see, there are a lot of vegetables here and a lot of flowers. I would say that this is, at this point in the season, maybe half and half pollinator focused and herbs and things. And everyone does their own thing. You've got some lavender here.
I love lavender.
I know, and also the rosemary, lots of other herbs and stuff here. This couple does a great job with their garden. Actually, a lot of our gardeners are just so committed. Beautiful flowers in this first plot here and the other side too.
Are these tomatoes?
Yes, they are. These are a darker shade of tomato, and yeah, and they have like variety of color here. So I have some of these in my garden too. When they're not ready, they're green on the bottom, and then when they're ripened, they get all different colors. Some of them are purple. I have some green stripies. There's so many varieties. You can see some storm damage here. We've had some really big summer storms the last few days, and last week too. And so some of the taller things have toppled over. Yeah.
I see a lot of sunflowers.
A lot of sunflowers. And if you look down the line, you can see a lot of sunflower loving birds and bees, and occasionally we see Baltimore Orioles in here actually, but it's been a few years since I've spotted them. You see a lot of yellow finches and other varieties of birds, sometimes hummingbirds in here as well. Yes, very cool.
The sunflower, is that like an indigenous plant of this area, or I just see it everywhere?
I honestly don't know. I think it's native to around here. Yeah, it's included in native plants for sure. But yeah, they also seed themselves, so the birds help seed them. And his kids made some flour, which is not enough space. He has a corn crop this year, but a bunch of it fell in the worms as well. He's just trying to see how much of it survives. But anyway, very cool family project. And tomatoes, of course, are probably the most popular crop, but there's a lot of everything too. I wish I had the name of it on the tip of my tongue, but I don't. I apologize.
Very pretty.
Yes, isn't it? It's gonna come to me, maybe. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay.
So for summers that are especially hot, like that have lots of heat advisories, what do you normally do to prevent flowers and crops before they, succumb to the extreme heat?
That's a really good question. I think watering is important, of course, and you want to water like in the morning is the ideal time. You don't want to water the leafy part of the plant, but underneath it for the most part. If there's water on the leaves of the plant, it kind of cooks in the sun, and it can really, open the plant up. I think that a lot of mulch is a good idea. Some people have, a variety of wood chips, a combination of straw with that, or leafy materials, or shredded bark kind of mulch, different things. You can use all kinds of composted material as well. But the main thing is to cover your soil. It's like a nice layer of insulation, both from the cold and from the heat. Like if you have a frost warning in the early spring, it helps as well. So all of that, and it helps prevent erosion and evaporation and all of that. So once you water, that insulating layer will really help a lot.
I'm sorry, I was looking at this beautiful bee on this flower. I was just kind of captivated. I was like, oh, it's so pretty. So
I know, I love the bees. When I was a kid, I was afraid of them, but they just, I don't know, we coexist now. It's fine.
So being part of this garden, have you had any transformative things about nature? I mean, I'm not an outdoor person by nature, but being surrounded by it and understanding it better, I could see myself kind of succumbing to it a little bit.
It's really very therapeutic to be outdoors in general, I think, but to be in your garden and bent over, this is my plot, by the way, and to be in your garden and bent over and pulling at weeds, and you just have your face down in it kind of, and or just you forget about other things around you, and all of a sudden, like, somebody will pop up with a dog and they say hi and you're like, oh, you know, but because you're so, I don't know, it just really
enthralled, huh?
Yeah, it's nice. And I just love trying new things too. I mean, new for me anyway. Like, this is my first honeydew crop ever. And I just harvested a bigger one this morning. I was very excited to try that. But yeah, and if you look, there are a bunch of them. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 right over here. Yeah, so it's a new one for me. I'm trying a pumpkin. That plant was struggling before. You can see the label on it there, but it looks like it's going to survive. For like a month or two, it was just, I don't know, having a hard time. I think the weather was too harsh or something. But yeah, I'm getting ready for a fall crop over here as well, that open space. So, you know, the spring plants that you grow in the cool weather, like lettuces and kale and all that, you can replant for the fall. Like in September. Soon, pretty soon.
Well, I saw that you had given us a Paprika Salad recipe.
Yeah.
So
I just found that online, by the way. But you know, it's a basic.
But it's perfect for some of the things.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes. Everybody's got some basil, it seems, in the garden. So if you've got tomatoes and basil, you were all set to make that salad. Or you have to go get some mozzarella, of course. But yeah, definitely. I do that a couple times a month at least during this season, maybe more than that. But this garden, this is a really, really talented gardener here, Sharon, and she has an amazing crop of different things all season long. But she also, I just like
very organized.
I like the way she organized her
She's
plot.
very organized. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about being in the community of gardeners is you learn from each other too, and you get nice ideas.
Yeah, the use of like little rocks and
the stones.
I did a little zen. Got a little thing that eggplant. Somebody has a
white eggplant. Squirrel running with somebody's green tomato, I think, in his mouth. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a piece of a sunflower. I don't know. It's very funny.
I think what's beautiful about this is a true urban garden because you are like in the we've got the street right here.
Right.
You've got people who could be doing like baseball, and it's like I like what you said. You're kind of like in a zen space, but then you get kind of snapped back into reality because somebody is with their dog, or you might see a kid go, "Oh, what are you doing?" You know,
when school's in session, it's quite busy here, different times of the day, and there's just a lot of action going on with the rec center during the summertime, and so. The other thing, just before we introduce the new manager of the Hamden branch,
if you have somebody who is interested in volunteering at your garden, and maybe they want to plot or they don't want to plot, how would they go about it?
Well, if they want to specifically contact Roosevelt, they could contact me. However, the City Farms has has an office.
Okay.
They're actually located over at Silburn Arboretum, which is a really fun place to visit. But their offices are over there, and they have greenhouse space. So they could call them up. I can give you the phone number right now. It's on the sign. I'm sorry. I'm not.
No
remembering. I
worries.
don't want to give you the wrong phone number.
We'll look at the sign,
as we go out.
So I just wanted to kind of make that. And I just really want to thank you for taking your time today. And this is like, I love this because our average community garden is going to be about this size, and I love showing the diversity amongst the city of what we have going on, and the beauty. I always say this is the little oasis in these little pockets. And so, thanks again.
You're welcome.
Owens, I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And
thank you for visiting.
now I would love to introduce our new manager of the Hamden branch, which is open. And Lena, I don't want to mispronounce your last name, so I'm not going to even try.
It's Lena Bertinelli.
Lena Bertinelli.
Yeah.
Hi, Lena. And I wanted you to come.
I'm so excited to be down the street. And
You have the address.
36 kind of Falls Road. I'm in the library.
Better luck from here.
Just recently renovated. Actually accessible now, so we have ramps going. And this is starting soon as well.
Yes. And so the Hamden branch is open just like the Northwood branch. Same hours. So our late days are Mondays and Thursdays from 12 to 8. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays we're open from 9:30 to 5:30, and then Friday and Saturday we're open from to 5:30. I need to be there at that time. My apologies. And then Friday and Saturday open 10 to 5. So just to let you know, we're like literally open, and it's really gorgeous and beautiful in the Hamden branch. You just what they were able to do in that space, I think, is just lovely.
kept a lot of the historic charm with the windows. So it's everything. So great and beautiful.
So we're just really happy to have Lena. We're happy, and we're happy to have this open to the community. The community has been making use of the computers and the children's and stuff like that. So they can as virtual and somewhat throughout. So with all of that, is there anything else? I think we have shown you the beauty of one of the beautiful things else. Let us know. Do we have any other questions, or are we okay?
We have one last question.
All right.
Is Roosevelt City Farm open for walkthroughs, or do we schedule walkthroughs?
The gate is locked normally. If someone is here, you can just speak right up. A visitor can just speak right up and ask. I'm sure anybody would be happy to walk somebody through, or just let them in. But they would have to, if they have an odd time, a specific time where no one is here, then they could contact me as well.
Or are here the most, or
I think weekend mornings are good times to come. Typically, especially when it's hot, the morning here in the dead of winter,
Right.
But you'll often notice people in here at odd times too.
okay.
And remind us of the best way to contact you.
So I think if you can't remember all my contact information, you could actually get in touch with the City Farms office that I mentioned, and they could get you in touch with me directly. But my email address is senora, that's SENORA .Owens, OWENS .2013 @gmail.com.
Stay tuned for other gardens throughout Baltimore City that will be highlighting kind of power through often just letting them know all that we have to offer. So thank you again. And Sophia?
Our next test event is at the end of the month, at the end of August, with Padma Lakshmi. So stay tuned, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you then.
Thank you, everybody.